Ladies and gentlemen, boils and ghouls, it's the Scare Factor Podcast, Season 2.
What's going on, everybody? Tyler and Nora here from the ScareFactor.com. We are joined here today with Bryan by Team Skilligore up in Central New York. How's it going, Bryan?
It's going pretty good. I just turned my air conditioner off, so I'm going to be sweaty in like 5 minutes.
It's going to be all hot and bothered.
Oh, you know it.
Well, this week we've got a very special episode for y'all. We are discussing haunt visiting etiquette. What should and shouldn't we be doing as customers when we visit haunted attractions? So, for this topic, we've been graced with the presence of Maximus Bryant. Max is the president of the Ohio Haunters Association, and he's also a Q actor at the Dent Schoolhouse in Cincinnati. So, not only does he have some high-level knowledge of how customers' behavior affects the operations of haunted houses, he's also got his fair share of, boots on the ground, actual face-to-face interactions with haunt goers as well. So, Nora, tell us what we've got on the list of topics for Max tonight.
We're going to talk about, as a queue line actor, what are some of the things you've seen? We're going to talk about how we shouldn't heckle queue line actors, how we should act when we're there, what are some of the craziest things you've seen from the unruly patrons, and some stuff like that.
Awesome.
It should be fun.
Wait. You mean to tell me I shouldn't harass queue line actors?
That is correct.
Oh, God. I've been doing this wrong for so many years.
Well, that's what we're going to be discussing today, so let's get into the interview with Max.
So, Max, if you would like, please tell us how you are the wearer of minion hats and what all you do.
Hey, everyone. I'm Maximus. As I said, I am president of the Ohio Haunters Association. Very fulfilling role. I am an actor. I'm going into my 8th season at the Dent Schoolhouse. I do queue line acting. I've been doing that now for about 5 years. That has been a ton of fun to do. I also have a home haunt in my hometown, Fright on Fountain. Something I've been doing since 2012. Just a fun little thing that I have full control over. So it's a great experience for me to do. I'm also part of a group called the Global Scare Network, which is a group of international haunters that like to look at different topics from an international perspective. Whether it's storytelling, set design, actor management, anything. So, sometimes I contribute to Haunt Topic Radio. Sometimes I contribute to Haunted Attractions Network. And I love the industry.
Heck yeah, as do we.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the first time I've heard about the international stuff. That sounds pretty interesting.
It's relatively new. We kind of got together during the year of 2020 COVID. We were just looking at doing different panels at different events, and so we just this last year officially kind of decided to put a name to our group. And one thing, one of the more things that we're trying to do is to teach at different conventions, do different panels, different topics. So, we recently did Haunters Against Hate, the event 2. Before that, we did West Coast Convention. We've done Fear Expo before. So, we've been around a little bit, but we're looking to, put ourselves out there more and to, bring a different perspective into haunting.
Absolutely. Well, tell folks a little bit about your pumpkin smasher character. I know Nora's not very fond of some of his actions that he does while he's out in the queue line, but Nora really likes pumpkins and doesn't like to see them get smashed. But
Well, and I tricked him last year too. Haha.
Well, to be perfectly clear, when you said your Pumpkin Smasher character, I have to clarify that Pumpkin Smasher is thought up, designed, and put together by the owners of the Dent Schoolhouse and their creative team.
Oh, yeah.
Pumpkin Smasher existed before me. I think about 5 actors tried to do Pumpkin Smasher before I got him. I tried out for him 3 times and failed. And then I finally got him, and I've had him for about 5 years now. So he is just a big orange dude, walks around with a big mallet. He has this justified grudge against pumpkins. Now, if you know about the character Geister, who was a pumpkin that came to life and started carving humans like jack-o'-lanterns because humans were carving up pumpkins. So he's a pumpkin that took revenge out on humans. Well, one of his victims was Pumpkin Smasher. And so Pumpkin Smasher's face is all deformed and cut up, and he's got a big giant grin, and his eyes are cut up because of Geister. And so, understandably so, he has a big grudge against them. So he's kind of grown up with this giant ego of saying that he's the greatest thing about Halloween, he's the best, and he just wants to destroy pumpkins, no matter what form they appear themselves in, even if it's a cookie, right, Nora?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. So I mean, he's kind of a fun he's a fun character to play. He's sort of this attention grabbing type guy, but he also somewhat is like the O'Douls from the Adam Sandler films. He's just, like Pumpkin Smasher's the best, O'Doyle rules type guy, but he likes to mess with you. He's kind of like that uncle that picks on you but then will like hug you and give you a noogie at the same time.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, well, let's get into some of these customer hunt visiting etiquette questions. So we'll start off with this one. So as a queue line actor, Max, and somebody that sees a lot of customers, what is something that you would say, or some things that are, some of the top things that customers should keep in mind while they're visiting a haunted attraction?
Well, when you're visiting a haunted attraction, I mean, there's, we want everybody to have a great time. So you want to do a lot of research before you get there. Like, what has wait times look like before? What are the best days to visit? Is it a good idea to go to a haunted house at 9 p.m. on a Saturday?
No.
That's an awful idea. Yet the majority of them are doing that. I strongly, if not all haunts open on Thursdays and Sundays, but if you come across a haunt that does, and you don't want to wait in line that long, try going on a Thursday and a Sunday. But as a queue line actor, let's assume you're waiting in line. I don't know how long the line is. I know that the wait in line sucks. We don't, that's why we're out there. We're there to interact with you. We're there to entertain. We want to have fun. We want to, make sure that you're having a good time. We'll try to scare you. We'll try to scare your friends. We'll try to do a bunch of stuff. But, we're not there to make you have a bad time. So, you've paid for your ticket. You're in line. We want to interact. We want to have fun with you. So, we love having pictures taken. So, if you want pictures with us, take pictures with us. You just say, hey, can I get a selfie? And it's like, okay, yeah, I get a selfie. The great thing is when one customer says, hey, can I get a selfie? Then all of a sudden everybody else around them is like, oh, we can get pictures with them. And then you spend like the next 5 to 10 minutes getting pictures done. It's not actually a bad thing. It kind of helps the night go on, And
you don't have to work near as hard for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and people get a memento and, they're getting memories. And so, we love taking pictures and, we like interacting with people and people who I think we tend to get attracted to those who seem like they're really enjoying themselves. It's like, oh, these people are enjoying themselves. Oh, these people are having fun. Oh, these people love getting scared. We tend to gravitate towards them. I feel like a bit. It's difficult in queue line acting because you don't necessarily always have a hiding spot. You're kind of always seen, and Pumpkin Smasher's in a big orange outfit, so I assume when I'm walking around, everybody can see me. So my scares have to kind of come in the moment. Swinging my hammer, getting really close to your face. Trying to find that person that actually is not looking at me. And I'm kind of scanning the crowd, and I find that one person that's not going after me. So, sometimes it's not going to be my goal to scare everyone. However, if I scare one person pretty good, that entertains everybody around them. So, just trying to have everybody have a good time. So, keep that in mind is that, we're trying to do that. We're not trying to beat you and hurt you or anything like that. So, just we're hoping everybody has a good time.
Absolutely. So if customers do want to find out if haunts are open on Thursdays or Sundays, what's some good ways for them to do that? Like, do they just call, or do you prefer that they just visit the website and don't ask? Or, do haunts get overwhelmed with people, flooding the phone lines and those kind of things? Is there a preferred method for people to contact the haunts? Or?
There's a fantastic website called The Scare Factor.
We'll send you your check after the show.
The scare, I mean, honestly, like when you go through your website and you look up all the haunts, like for example in Ohio, there's several haunts that have dates, times, and ticket prices listed. So so you know, a good search like that will do it. A good majority of the haunts will put out a schedule ahead of time. So like right now we're in August. Several haunts already have a schedule out, and you can sort of see the haunts that are doing Fridays and Saturdays only, the ones that are doing like Sundays. I feel like the best way, so like if you just take a moment, go to the website, look, or go on Facebook and look at their page and just look, you'll find your answer. You can try to message the haunt. So if you try messaging the haunt, you got to realize a bunch of other people are messaging the haunt too. So, you know, it may take a little bit to get your answer. So you just got to take a little time and look. So, I mean, any haunt should have its schedule on its website. So please look at the website. Please look at times, and so that you're well aware of when the haunts are opening. Because one thing you got to know is that with Google, like haunts will put down the days they're open. However, Google doesn't seem to have a feature that for seasonal shows. Like for example, the Dent Schoolhouse, I think on any given Friday, Google will say it's open, but it's not.
Oh, right.
Because Google doesn't really allow you to indicate, you know, how seasonal you are. So my suggestion would be go to their websites, go to their Facebook pages, and you can find out there. I don't really know about the reliability of phone calls to haunts. I don't feel like that's one of the most reliable ways. I think pretty much all media, social media is your best bet.
We've already covered this one a little bit, but what are some good ways for customers to interact with Q actors, Max, or maybe just actors in general?
Well, so I hope that customers are listening, but I also hope other Q line actors are listening. So, like I said, get some photos. We love photos. Now this kind of goes more to the Q line actors. Customers will come, and customers are going to point out a friend that is easily scared.
Yes, they are.
Basically, nobody is truly your friend unless they're a jerk like that. Mm-hmm. So now the reason I'm speaking to Q line actors is because I feel like a lot of actors get like this pride thing about it. It's like, they're not going to tell me who to scare. I'm like, why? Like, they're pointing out easy prey. Go for them. Do it. I mean, it's rare that a group of friends have pointed out somebody and it didn't turn out to work out well. Like, you know, the friend group knows the weak link. All right, point them out, go for them. So, you know, I feel like to customers, if you want to point out who the weak link is, point them out. Go ahead. Give me suggestions. Because, like, look, as a Q-line actor, I'm looking around trying to figure out, okay, what's a good interaction to have? I have some preset interactions based upon a group that I go to. If it's like a group of girls, I have different ways of going about it. Group of guys, a couple, you know, any kind of combination of a group, I have sort of a preloaded approach how I'm going to go at them. But you're kind of sometimes guessing. But so if you kind of give a hint, you know, like if your friend goes to the bathroom that's easily scared, and you come to me and you say, hey, you know, this person, you know, is easily got, and they're wearing a yellow shirt, and they'll be with me here shortly. I'm like, okay, great. I'm going to keep an eye out for them, and I'm just going to keep walking my route, and I'm going to catch them when they're not looking, because I know who to look for. I don't know if I should mention. I'm going to anyway. There's this psychologist, and he was talking about scientists observing zebras, and then that they would lose track of the zebra because they don't know which zebra they were looking at. Well, then they would put like a red stain on the zebra so that they could watch that one zebra. Turns out the predators would kill that zebra because that zebra is now identified. So it's kind of almost, to me, similar in Q-line acting. It's like all I'm seeing is a giant crowd of people, but I need to find the one. Who is the one? And sometimes if your friends are jerks, they'll point out the one for me. Thank you. I have no problems taking a tip. And if you're a Q-line actor that has problems taking a tip, get over yourself. I like it.
And only the tip. And just for a second, mind you might enjoy it.
Oh my god!
Haven't you listened to this podcast before?
God,
Come on,
Bryan.
this is mild.
Right. Kind of like if you don't like being touched,
Yeah.
move your hand until it feels
That's
good.
right.
Oh, jeez.
If the if
Do
the
not do that to
actor
the
touching
actors.
you is making you uncomfortable, move their hand until it is comfortable.
Well,
Would you agree with that statement, Max?
I would not. I would not suggest. At least at my haunt, I wouldn't suggest any haunt really touching the actors. Most
no.
haunts don't touch. There are several that do, or some that will pay an upcharge for you to touch, but baseline typically they don't, but some will. Character, Q line actors were in character. Sometimes I like it when customers want to know the story of what's going on. Either the story about Pumpkin Smasher, or they want to know the story about the Dent Schoolhouse. The whole thing is a production and a story that we're trying to tell. So I like telling the story. I like people who like to banter. I don't like people being like jerks or whatnot, but kind of you can play along with the character. You can kind of have a back and forth. I'm cool with that. But I feel like if you believe that you're being clever, like for example, you walk up to a character and you say like, "Hey, do you play Fortnite? Your weapon looks like it's in Fortnite." And what you're trying to do is kind of trying to get them to get out of character. Like Dent Schoolhouse is supposed to be themed in the 1950s. So if you're asking me about something like Fortnite thing, you're purposely trying to bring me out of my character, and you're trying to get one over on me. Well, I don't recommend doing that. But try to become more immersed in the story. And I think the Q line characters are out there trying to do that. What are our goals? What are we doing? Having fun with it and doing that sort of thing. So it's just having fun out there and interacting. So I'd say ask questions, have fun, banter. I'm Q line actors are supposed to be pretty well versed in improv. So you feed us something, we take it, and we spit it back, or we do whatever you give us is kind of material that we end up using.
I think that's one of our favorite parts of haunt season is interacting with the Q actors.
Oh, yeah, we love bantering back and forth and hearing the stories and how they react to different things that we throw at them, for sure. Well, speaking of being jerks and things not to do, how should customers not react when Q actors just walk up out of the blue and start heckling?
Well, I think I don't
Should
feel
we
like
start throwing punches or start kicking and
Well,
swearing?
don't-
What do we do
don't
here?
punch and kick. Don't no. There's no reason for swearing, but it's almost like the person that seems like confused. Like, why are you talking to me? I'm like, do you not understand where you are?
Right.
So, like I said earlier, we tend to gravitate, I think, to those who seem to be enjoying themselves. So, like, if I come up to you and I'm doing something, and then you just are like there, like, why are you here? Why are you talking to me? Don't talk to me. Okay, then I'm not going to. Screw you. Like, we have your money. I'm done with you.
Right.
So I just kind of move on. So I mean, like, if you're not having a good time with me around you, like, I'm gonna leave. I'll go somewhere else. I've got hundreds upon and sometimes thousands waiting in line. I'll go somewhere else. I also suggest, like, really I do not suggest you touch the props, pulling on hair, touching faces. We are performers, but we're also people. And so I don't believe in you just like, grabbing my face to figure out if it's real. Don't do that. Unfortunately at Dent, we have a gravel lot, which means that sometimes some customers have, picked up some of the gravel and tried to toss it at me. Well, then when I turn around looking for, who did it, I can't find them. So that's kind of a jerk move. And it's like, okay, if I stand over here, I'm going to get pelted with gravel rocks. I'm going elsewhere. I mean, we have security, but if I can't tell security who to get, it's no good. I'll just say, hey, it probably came from this area, but I'm not going to find who was throwing the gravel at me. And I'd say, trying to also, there's several customers that I've interacted with who like want me to do shout outs for their TikTok channel, or they want me to pose with them as they're wearing like some kind of promotional shirt. They also sometimes like to do photos with me where they're flipping off the camera. I don't know. I don't feel like I'm PG in general, but I'm like, I don't want the Dent Schoolhouse represented in a way where the photos come out where people are flipping off the camera. That's just not what I want for the brand. So I try to avoid that kind of stuff. And if people are holding up, like I've had customers come up that are holding up like a sign being like, this line of shoes that they're making up. It's like, Ace Force shoes, and they want me to pose with them, or while they're holding up
trying to look like you're endorsing them or something.
No, we don't do that. Like you because as a Q line actor, if you do that, you're basically putting the haunt's name on that product, and as an actor, I don't have the authority for that. So we definitely try to avoid doing that. You also, if you try to get the actor to take a photo with you and hold up a particular sign with your hands, I've been asked to do that several times. We avoid that as well. So there's a lot of things to not do, but you can, like I said, banter, have fun, have photos done, point out your friends for us to go after, whatever it is, that sort of thing. But the touching and stuff you ought not do.
When I was an actor, the people who they wouldn't react, and they'd look at you like, what are you even doing here? Like, why are you acting in my face? I took that as a personal challenge. I will stalk those people. Your ass will be mine. I will get a reaction out of you one way or the other. And I don't know, maybe you kind of, you were saying like, you're just like, whatever, we already got your money, I'm done with you. I think there are some actors out there who will take that personally, because it is almost a challenge, right? Because it's like, hey, I'm doing a good job here. Acknowledge it.
Right. Well, and that's sort of the thing is that, like Pumpkin Smasher loves to get the last word. He doesn't like to back down. So like, when I'm surrounded by a group of teenage boys, for example, and one of them will make a joke on me or roast me, I guess. I'm sounding lame saying it like that. And I'm like, okay, fine. Well, then I roast them back. And then we just kind of keep going back and forth. And I do not like backing down from that kind of a circumstance. But, they're enjoying the interaction. So I love doing it. And I love kind of turning and then taking a quick swing at them with the mallet. The people who, like you're saying, the one that just don't seem to enjoy themselves, I typically just have too many people in line to worry about them for too long. Because like when I'm interacting with a customer, I want them to enjoy, but it's not just them, it's everybody watching. And so like from my perspective, if it's not always, like I said, it's not just that one person, I want to do something entertaining that gets not just, that's not just entertaining for that one person, but everybody that watches this, whether it's, making jokes or scaring them or sneaking up on them or anything like that. If I can get them, I'd love to. And, doesn't mean, and that's the other point. I will see that person again, more than likely. When I'm walking around doing everything, if they're at the back of the line, an hour later, I'll probably see them again. And so then I can, give another swing or do that. But, if hopefully it works out. And if you time it right, I just have the mindset that there's other things I can be doing.
Pumpkins when people bring them to you.
You know what? The amount of pumpkins that people have brought me has really been disappointing.
Do you want more?
Yeah, I want more.
Maybe it's because they don't like seeing people smash them like me. Like you smash them and I'm like, that's really fun to watch, but it's so sad.
Killing the little pumpkin.
Nora, you need to accept
Pumpkin
like, Smasher for who he is.
Nora, we're all about inclusivity on this podcast.
Right. Well, and that's sort of the thing is people, like Pumpkin Smashers out front, and then people are like, well, there's no pumpkins. Like, yeah, because I do a damn good job. Thank you.
Right, because you're not allowed inside.
Yeah,
right?
No, they don't let me inside. They're not. They don't let me in the fall festival. They're not going to let me in the back new area, which I hope you come and check out. They're not going to let me in pretty much anywhere. I'm kind of restricted. And and the character almost demands that you start a fight whenever you see Geister.
We don't really see Geister that much. Hopefully we will this
we've
year.
missed him the past year or two.
He was out. He was out a good amount last year, and you're going to see him more. It's just if him and I are out at the same time, that has shown not to work out very well. We start creating a spectacle, and then it's more of like fight, and because like I said, the character demands it.
Right. Well, some of these things you're saying, like people throwing rocks and doing things like that, that's pretty crazy in my opinion. But I've obviously never been a Q actor, so you see a lot more of that sort of thing than we do. But speaking of crazy things, like what's some of the craziest things that you've seen customers do at a haunt, whether that be inside or outside?
Couple of crazy things. There was one guy who brought a snake inside of his trench coat, like a long boa, like a big yellow boa. I don't know how the hell nobody saw it. I mean, it was in the trench coat, right? But this dude waits in line. He gets past the ticket taker. He gets past the front door guy, and he's in the haunt with a snake. And it's like,
you want to see my snake? He flips open the coat.
What the hell is that? There was another guy once. I think he just kind of kept showing that he had a taser. So I mean, one of those smaller ones that you can buy at a store. It just like, I was like, why are you doing that? We've had urination people. There was one weird interaction,
like not being scared.
What's that?
Just doing it for like not being scared people, like just doing it for no reason.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. If they're peeing their pants, that's one thing. But if you're relieving yourself on the set, that's what I'm talking about. Like a person just kind of goes into the corner or something and does that.
Oh,
that's that's kind of been that's like why, you know. Like, there was one mom. I this one will always kind of get me. I don't understand how this happened. It was a group of 8-year-olds. It was a baseball team. So like whenever a group of 8-year-olds, 8 to 10, if there's like I don't know, 8 to 12 of them, they'll just run up. They'll be like, "Oh, who are you? Oh, that's such a big hammer. Oh, that's so cool." And you know, they're loving it, right? Then I'm chatting with these kids. This mom is just drunk as can be, walks up to Pumpkin Smasher and says, "Oh, don't worry, kids, you have nothing to worry about with him," and just straight smacks me.
Oh, God.
And so I stare at her for a second because I'd never like when I scare people have thrown a punch. Now, like earlier when I said, if I come up and I try to scare you, if you do a defensive posture, we are trained to understand that. We know that happens. Like, I do that. My girlfriend on her TikTok, fiance.
Fiance.
No,
And you know she's going to be listening to this episode.
Congratulations, by the way.
She's going to listen. She's been my fiance now for 26 hours.
Oh, boy.
I'm still getting used to it. But
you heard it here first, folks.
Yeah,
No.
on her TikTok, she would jump out and scare me. And she thought it was funny because I'm a haunter. So, but I noticed that my hands go up every time she'd jump out at me. So I know that that's what people do. But if you are just like this drunk woman just coming and like smacking me, I was like, huh. Now
you can't even blame that on flight or
no,
fright.
I can't blame that at all on anything except for being dumb and drunk. So don't show up to a haunt drunk if that hasn't been mentioned yet. So the problem was she was clearly one of the mothers of these children, and so you know it's the bunch of kids on the baseball team, and their parents are with them. So all these moms and dads are with them, but this woman's completely drunk. So I'm trying to think to myself, okay, I'm going to give her a talking to, but if I try to get her removed at this moment, that I think creates a potential problem for the whole group. You know, like the whole group is supposed to be here. They're, you know, they want to have a good time. If one mom gets kicked out, that sucks for the whole group. So I have a talking with her too. It's like, this will not happen again. You do not hit actors. I'm going to tell every security person to have a lookout for you. and this better not happen again, or else you're gone. It's like, okay, don't take it so seriously. I'm like, no, it is serious. You smacked me. So the point of all this is that later that night, she's getting tasered by the police officers because
Nice.
Oh, wow.
she continued to be belligerent. So, the lesson for me at that moment was that, no, she took a straight swing at me. She should have been gone. And under normal circumstances, she would have been. But again, because she was she was one of the parents of this baseball group, I was trying to give some consideration, I guess. But, that just came back to bite me. So, yeah, our haunt, we do employ, not employ, we do have law enforcement officers present for security purposes. And, this lady kept acting out and got, she
got what
she
you
had
had
an
coming to her,
electrifying
yeah.
good time.
Yeah, and those security and policemen that you see at the haunts, they're actually super friendly if you don't piss them off.
Usually they are, yeah.
So
No, they're great people. Like I love our security people. They're great to interact with, and they have fun doing stuff too. Like we have a guy at the front, and because when you first walk in, there's something there that's going to scare you, and he loves to just get their attention pulled for a second and be like, hey, look here real quick, and then the thing does its thing, and it gets them. They have such a fun time
I'm
doing
pretty sure
that.
I had a conversation with him this year because we were watching the ghost.
The
that
lady in
wanders
white,
out.
I think.
Yeah. And we were watching her, and we were having a conversation. And it was a security guard that looked like he had been there for a while because I always see him. He was so friendly and funny to talk to.
He kept giving her the stink eye out of the corner of his eye, like she's scary as shit,
Yeah, he was like, she's scaring me.
And they've been doing it for, all those security guys have been doing it for a while. And I know, like, for example, Dave in particular, like some people will ask him to take a photo for them, and he knows the best angles. Like he loves taking a photo where the schoolhouse is in the background and it's all lit up. And he knows that kind of stuff pretty well, and we build a pretty good relationship with Green Township Police, and sometimes we have sheriff deputies out there too, and they're fantastic. So like I believe our haunt focuses pretty heavily on safety, and we want everybody to have a good time, but we need to keep our actors and all the customers safe as well. So just I guess if there's one big thing to tell the customers if they're thinking of going to a haunt, just consider everybody's safety. Throwing rocks, can hit not only actors but people, and you really need to consider that.
Yeah, the other people aren't held to as strict rules as the Q actors are, and they might be biting off a little more than they want to chew if they get another customer pissed off at them.
Oh yeah, no, like especially the line cutters. You guys, all of you out there that are line cutters, like. I really, when we find you, you're gone. We don't allow for it, but you better believe that it's not us that you have to look out for. It's the other customers, because I'll be damned if I let a person get in ahead of me when I've been waiting in line for as long as I have.
I'm the same way. I will throw elbows. Watch out! Like, do not cut the line. That is very disrespectful in anywhere. Like. But especially haunts, because everybody's been standing there as long as you have, and everybody paid to be there just the same as you. So stand in the line and have fun with characters like Max, because it also helps pass the time.
Yeah, and that's what we're, that's the main point of the Q line actor, is to entertain, for you to have fun while you're waiting in line. And we try to design it in such a way, like there's photo ops, there's different, you can get concessions, you can we have more than one character out there, and we're all different. So, like Pumpkin Smasher's different. He can talk, but Charlie the janitor doesn't. So your interactions with him are going to be a bit different, but there's still, you can still become more immersed in the story by interacting with him. And whether it's Zobo the Clown or Lady in White or DS6 or Geister, whoever it is, and those are only our characters, but any haunt you go to, you kind of have to gauge, I guess, the characters. I went to a haunt that had like 5 Q line actors, and they were all non-speaking. And so,
interesting.
Which would be fine if they kind of created more spectacles. There was another haunt that I think had like 3, and all the characters were kind of like childish, dumb type. but they all kind of interacted with each other in a fun way, and it created a spectacle. So it was like watching a show while you were waiting in line. And I thought they did it great. But the 5 who were all silent characters, I kind of always thought like, okay, well, here's another silent guy. I'll selfie with them. And that kind of reminds me about the customers who sometimes will ask me like, hey, is it fun working here? Like, work? They don't let me inside. I'm just out here for smashing pumpkins and playing. Like, well, how much do they pay you? Well, it depends on how much candy corn they have. So, I mean, you know, as a customer, I think it takes you out of the experience if you try to treat me like I'm an employee, I suppose. I don't know. I feel like I'm saying that correctly. You know, like, if you're trying to get me to break character, like, is it fun to work there? Like, I'm not going to answer that question. Right? Or, you know, like, not in the way that you hope. And then when you ask, like, well, how much do they pay you? That's another question I'm just not going to answer. That's not in character. You know, I may mention candy corn or something like that, but you're not going to get a straight answer. So, you know, realize that we're trying to, like, tell a story. And when you're trying to take me out of it or try to get the characters out of it, I don't feel like that, you know, I feel like that takes the customer out of it too. So why would you do that to yourself?
And I think that's like the true test of metal for any actor, you know, in a situation where they're interacting with the public or their audience in any way. You know, there's always going to be that one asshole that tries to get you to come out of character just so they can be like, I gotcha. Like, okay, what did you fucking gain out of that, first of all? Second of all, like, great, you got me out of character. Bye.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like it's a hallmark of a good actor who can see that in the moment and go, oh, I see what you're trying to do here, and then just lean into their character even more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you can answer in character and keep it like character based, that, you know, that's phenomenal, and that goes into those improv skills that you got. But if you're a customer that's just trying to get one over on the actors, I don't get it. I have a hard time understanding that. And, you know, I mean, there's sometimes the guys who try to pull me close and they're like, so, you know, is it pretty scary in there? Like, how do you actually expect me to answer that question? Like, yeah, we're rated, you know, 9 out of 10 on whatever, but it's, I tell them you're going to have a good time and then come back and see me again.
Yeah.
It's typically how I go about it.
Mm-hmm. I remember a customer interaction at Dent before we were reviewing. I want to say Jasper and Jinx were out in the line. It was the clowns, and one of them come up to me and was talking to me, and I said, "Do you guys touch here?" Because I just didn't know. And they started patting me on the head, and I said, "Of course we can touch you." And it was just like the way I ask it and the way that they were able to respond to it. Dent was not a touch haunt, you know. But I stood in that line for like an hour, like, oh my God, they're a touch haunt. And I just didn't realize, like, if you can, you know, kind of see a character, like you can see how a customer's going to react. So just lightly patting me at that point, like I wasn't going to do anything but freak out. And it was just going to stay in my mind. And it did. And it's something I remember. But it was almost for me like a perfect way for them to answer that, because they really didn't answer my question, because they weren't a touch haunt.
There's been a few interactions
it
that
just
where
freaked me out.
There'll be some kids, and they actually try to use that to get over on me. They're like, "It doesn't matter what you do, you can't touch me." And then, you know, I'll place my hand on their shoulder. I'm like, "Are you sure about that?" But I mean, you kind of have to gauge it. You know, like there are certain people who it's like, no, you don't touch them. And, you know, we do not touch. But there's a few interactions like that exist where it actually kind of accentuates the moment where it's kind of like, oh, I'm not as safe as I thought I was. Even it kind of keeps them thinking a little bit. And I do several other gimmicks. Like, you know, there'll be somebody that interacts with me, and I'll just claim that they're ugly and they're wearing or like I'll be like, oh my God, that face, and then they're wearing a hoodie, so I'll take their hoodie, put them over their face, tie it up so that I can't see their face anymore. I'm like, much better, and better stay that way for the rest of the time in line. Surprising, actually, the amount of people who will just stay that way. the rest
A little
of
bit
the
of
time.
shock in there,
So, I
right?
mean,
They're
like-
just like, I don't
Oh,
know what to
wow.
do now.
Yeah, well, this guy said I'm not allowed to undo my hoodie anymore. So, but you know, pretty much everybody that I've done that with has been a pretty good sport about it. You know, and you kind of have to gauge that with the customer. Like, you know, like there's a difference between a person who just straight says, "Do not touch me." Okay, well, I'm not going to. But then if you're trying to tease me
Noted.
about it,
Yeah.
like you can't touch me. Okay, that's an interaction I could probably get away with something that makes them question what they just claimed, just to kind of intensify the
Right.
experience.
You know, so we were just talking about how, like, you know, the customers that try to get you out of character, and like, what are they really gaining from it? And I remember in 2020, I was reading this article in a psychology journal. It was about how, and this is still, like, I don't understand this now more so than I didn't understand it then. But you know how, like, when everybody was wearing a mask, and then you'd have some people walking around and they'd have the mask pulled down under their nose.
You're talking about COVID masks.
Yes. Yeah. So, you know, surgical mask, that sort of thing. So if you got the whole world wearing like these surgical face masks and they pull it down under their nose because like, what are you really gaining out of this? You know, oh, you can't breathe through a thin paper mask. Maybe you shouldn't be out in the middle of a respiratory pandemic, but that's besides the point. Yeah, I was reading this article and it was exploring the psychological reasons why people would do that. And these are the sorts of people who speed on the highway. They cheated on exams in school. They just feel like they need to be getting that one up on everybody else. And it's this really weird psychological phenomenon that happens. But those are the same sorts of people. And I would not be surprised if the same people who are doing the thing with the mask and who speed on the highway and who, you know, cheated on tests in school, like if those are the same people going to haunts trying to get you out of character. Because in their mind, they're just like, I need to win this. As if there was something to win.
That's an interesting thought because I would imagine that some behaviors that people exhibit is part of their overall character. Like, you know, the person who goes to the haunt but tries to scare the actors.
Right.
Like,
I do that, but I'm a former actor and I can actually do it.
Right. Well, it's like, I don't know. I can't think of how many times a person did come up from behind me and when I turned around was like, boo. Or, you know, something like that. And I'm like, the hell? I'm like, and then I'll say to them, like, was I supposed to pay you? Is that how that works? I guess. I don't know.
I have a funny story about that, actually. When I was an actor, there was I was in the scene where it was a long hallway with the claustrophobia tunnel. And so part of my act was go down to one end, try to lure people down, and then I jump into my little hidey hole and I do the effect as they went by, and it was a big scare. So I happened to be going back down to the other end of the tunnel to lure the next group of people through, and for whatever reason, a patron had found their way behind me. They shouldn't have, because the last group was already on their way. This was the end of the house, so, you know, they should have been exiting by that point. And I turn around and they go, boo. And it was in that moment that I realized the only acceptable response to a patron doing that is to tell them you're fired. and I looked at him and I'm like, the fuck? You're fired. And he's like, huh? You said boo, you're fired.
Do you mind if I steal that?
Go for it, man. I don't act anymore, so, you know. It's just, it occurred to me, like, in that very moment, like, if I said this, I'd be fired. So, you're fired.
Right. Yeah, we're rather anti.
I think most haunts that are, you know, worth paying for are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right. Well, yeah, it's just it's funny to me how people try to do that.
And then you freak them out.
And I
in
get it.
turn.
When you're with a group of friends, you do try to, I don't know, show some gusto, and you try to show, you know, that you're a prankster or any of this other type of stuff. So, you know, people all interact in kind of a different way, but as long as, you know, one can keep keep it fun. And I mean, if it's a group that I think is just kind of ruin everybody else's time, all right, I'm not really gonna interact with you. But that's great though. You're fired. I like that.
Yeah, because like that's the joke amongst all the haunted houses is if you say boo, you're fired.
Right. Yeah. I've heard it so much now that I'm so surprised that still in actor training they have to say it. But
well, I mean, you get new people every year they don't know and whatever. But yeah, it's
I don't feel like I've been in the industry that long, but there are just certain things that that the regular customers don't know, and it's evident with how often I get asked things or how much things come up or people say boo and things like that. But I do sometimes kind of enjoy the person who will sneak into the room ahead of them and try to wait for the rest of their friends, and then they jump out at them. And you see that sometimes too. And I'm like, okay, I guess if that's interesting. I mean, most of my scares aren't based upon a pop anyway. They're more interaction creep or dialogue driven.
So, we're talking about like crazy things people have done in haunts that you've seen. Are there any rules that have been written after somebody did something and it was only written because that person did the thing?
I think, thinking about that, we have a no high heels and no open toe shoe policy. And that mainly was a result of someone accused us of having actual blades on our chainsaws. And so how that's connected didn't seem that it's obvious in my brain because I know the situation, but I know for you. So what happened was this lady runs into a wall with her open-toed shoes and heels and cuts her, bangs her foot on the wall. They're not supposed to be running into walls, but she did. So she got a little cut on her shoe, or on her toe. And then she claimed that it was the chainsaw guy that had a blade on his chain. I'm not aware of any haunt that has chains on their chainsaws, like blades. So
not anymore. Nora's got a story from a few years ago, but
in all of my life, just one, and they did not get it close.
I've seen a stage the haunts that did the stage things. You went to multiple stages and they did kind of like a thing on the stage, but they were pretty far away. So I guess I've seen that. But so the point is, this lady went to the press about this whole thing regarding the chainsaw, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. And pretty much the solution was determined that no open-toed shoes should be allowed. For one, it's a gravel lot. For two, high heels is a terrible idea in a gravel lot too. And the open-toed shoe thing was because she ran into the wall. So it basically the accusation that it was something other than what it was is what it kind of came out to be. And one thing I hope that people realize when they come onto our property, every single scene has a camera in it. And I've seen when I visited other haunts, I've seen customers that have come out and they will say, "We were touched by an actor. We want our money back." It's like, okay, which scene? I don't know. Okay, what was the actor wearing? I don't know. Can you say what was after the scene, before the scene? I don't know. Like, okay. Well, we have security cameras. We can look anywhere and figure this out. But so, basically it came down to people needing to wear proper shoes when they come onto such a gravel lot. So I think that's the only real policy change that I'm aware of because of a customer.
That is a less satisfying answer than I was hoping for, but it totally makes sense.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So you've been doing acting for how many years now?
This will be year 8, I suppose. Yeah.
Okay. So you've probably got a pretty good idea of who's going to cause trouble. What does trouble look like, and why is it always a group of teenage boys?
Well, it is always a group of teenage boys. It's adolescence, hormones, all those things just go. I don't know. They're like I said earlier. I think it has to do. When you get a group of boys together like that, they feel like they have to show each other up. They all have to pretend to be tough. They all have to show that one is a prankster or one will do this, and that's crazy. And so one will do something more extreme. That's not always the case, though. There's often times where you have some pretty good interactions with them. Like, for example, the ones that tried to roast me, and then I roast back, and we go back and forth. But by the end of it, they had a great interaction. Usually, it's you see a group of folk, teenage boys sometimes. And you see them kind of trying to like time how they're going to sneak into the line and jump the line. So you're looking for that. You're trying to see if that's going to cause a problem. But not just them, but like the ones that come onto the property inebriated and drunk. The ones who seem like they can't be standing on their own feet. Like I have a hard time understanding, like, if you bring a complete drunk person who can barely stand up, and so two people are having to carry them through the whole haunt, who would want to do that? Like, I don't get why it looks like that. And when I talked about the touching earlier, there's the people who, like, if they're touching me or my props, and I give them a warning, stop touching the stuff. Like, hey, it's mine, you can't have it. And then they continue to do it. Like, okay, so look, sometimes a person will step out of line, but if you redirect them and they do what you said, okay, there's usually no issue there. But it's the person that you see that after you've given redirection, they keep doing what you said not to do. Like whether it's and then there's the people who have their phones out filming as they're going through the haunt. So there's several instances there, but I do know that with the group of teenage boys that I feel like they have an audience of their own friends, and because they have an audience of their friends, they act in a particular way. I work in the juvenile courts, and I know the difference between talking to a group of boys and pulling them one-on-one. And when I worked in a correctional facility and kids were acting up, and there was a ringleader. Okay, as soon as I pulled the ringleader aside and it was one-on-one, that kid acted very differently, mainly because they no longer had their audience. If they don't have their audience, they're not going to act like a clown, because who are they entertaining anymore? So there's some psychology there with that, I'm sure. Somebody smarter than me would be able to point out, but that's my take on it.
I mean, we remember being teenagers. It's like, you're going to act like a clown a little bit just to entertain yourself, because, like, well, this might be fun. But even more so when your friends are around, because you want to get that laugh out of them. You want to seem cool.
Yeah.
Some of us never grew up.
Yeah, and, that's right. But that's one of my tools that I use when I approach a group of kids. And I'm so since I'm the pumpkin smasher and I approach a group, there's always a kid or two that may be shorter than the rest of the group, and then I'll sort of say, like, why did all you pumpkins bring this squash? Why you do that? I need full-grown pumpkins here. And so they usually like kind of ragging on each other, having fun that way. And then there'll be another one that comes by, and he may be taller than me, but I'm like 300 pounds, so I'm pretty much fatter than most of these kids. And they're like, well, could snap you in half pretty quick, don't you think? So once you kind of get into the realm of like roasting on each other, they tend to go along with it and have fun in that way.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have any advice for haunts that don't have queue actors? Like, what can they be doing to keep patrons entertained while they're waiting in line or when they're in midway areas, that sort of thing? What can they do without actors?
I think that there are, like, if you have selfie stations, like some sort of thing where people can do a group photo, that's something that people like to do. I saw the USS Nightmare just south of us at Dent. They have this thing where if like you pay $1 or something, you can activate an air cannon. I thought that was pretty neat because you could actually watch for people going through the haunt, and then you can activate the thing. I think that's a pretty fun interactive thing to do.
That does sound like fun.
Yeah, I kind of always enjoyed doing that. There are some haunts where you don't wait in line, but you enter your name into a queue, and then you can go do other things. There's 2 haunts that I'm aware of where like you can go shop at some shops. You can go on like some carnival type rides, and there's several different other entertaining things that you can do. I do know that those exist, and so when you get your text and you can go in line, that also so that's how they get in line. There are also haunts who have really embraced time ticketing, mainly for the purpose of avoiding long waits, because if everybody shows up at 9 p.m. on a Saturday, well, the wait is long. But if people are buying their ticket for 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, I think a lot of haunts have noticed that is actually reducing people's wait time. Because when you go back and look at Google reviews and Facebook reviews, you're noticing a lot of people are complaining about the amount of time that they're waiting in line. People don't like to wait in line, but the time ticketing aspect has kind of, I think, uplifted that concern a little bit with, because if the people are there at 10 who bought 10 o'clock slots, they're in line less. So so either you create more entertaining options, such as, maybe there's vendors, maybe there's rides, maybe there's selfie stations, maybe there's interactive things you can do with the haunt. Some haunts do some more spectacles. Well, they do it with actors, so I guess that doesn't really go along with the question. But I've seen haunts who do like dance competitions. They'll pull like some people out of the crowd, make them all do a dance, and whoever does the best dance according to the cheers from the crowd gets a T-shirt. So there's several things like that haunts can do.
Yeah. Speaking of the virtual queues and the time ticketing, we've talked about that at length in previous episodes on the podcast. And one of the things that we kind of came to the conclusion of is time ticketing is really great, but only if the haunt is actually enforcing it. If I buy a ticket for 10 p.m., don't let me get in line at 8. Make me wait for that, because like if you're not going to make me wait, then what was the point?
Right, and because I would imagine a lot of people kind of have that mindset, and so then everybody ends up waiting because the 9 o'clockers are waiting because of 10 o'clockers that came at 8. Yeah, I get that. The time ticketing thing, I think, like, I feel like a lot of haunts embraced during the COVID years, and then it was one of those things that stayed over afterwards. So like haunts embraced, like several haunts were like, okay, we did time ticketing because of COVID, but it actually seemed to work out better, so therefore we're going to keep it. So they're doing that. There's several haunts who made a switch to more masks to reduce makeup use, which, that I'm going to leave that to people's subjective preference on like makeup versus masks. But with masks, at least, and with makeup stations, you do the makeup, then you got to clean all your brushes and sanitize and all this other stuff before you do the next person's makeup. So some haunts have reverted to either airbrush makeup or using a lot more masks preferred, so that there's less chance of exposure in that way. So there's I think haunts in general have tried really hard to adjust from COVID and found practices that worked out pretty well and have stuck with them afterwards.
And with the airbrush too, specifically, like if you have a really good airbrush artist, that's going to look so much better at the end of the night.
Oh yeah, I know that our makeup person, Erin, shout out to Erin. She's phenomenal with it, and she's done some amazing stuff with that airbrush for sure. And there's a lot of resources out there for you to learn about airbrushing, and I feel like that has grown a lot too since COVID as well. So if your haunt's looking to get into airbrushing more, they're out there. I'll just shout out Graffiti FX just because.
Well, speaking of shout-outs and stuff here, where are some places folks can go to learn more about Dent and the various other associations that you are affiliated with?
So, Dent Schoolhouse, you can just go to dentschoolhouse.com. We're going to be opening on September 16th. We're going to do Friday and Saturday the first weekend, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday the next weekend, and then the last weekend in September will already be into Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. For all you haunters out there, look out for September 29th. That is our Haunter Night. If you come wearing your Haunter shirts, whether it's your shirts, jackets, hats, as a fellow Haunter, you're going to get a discount that night. So come out. That's a last Thursday in September. So we're hoping, most other haunts are not open. There are a few, but most others are not open at that point. So come on out and for Haunter Night. Also, I'm going to be doing behind the scenes tours. You can go on the website, buy a time slot before the haunt opens. I take you on a personal tour of the Dent Schoolhouse. You get to look at all the behind the scenes stuff. You get to see all the stuff that a regular customer does not get to see. It's a really in-depth look. It's an hour long, and I show you pretty much.
Oh, that's freaking cool.
Pretty much everything. I don't know what I don't show you. So it's a lot of fun. We did a little soft opening for it last year. So Dent Schoolhouse, check it out. Ohio Haunters Association, we exist as a Facebook group. So we're going to be earlier, Tyler, you asked, how do you find out about when haunts are opening? I'm currently putting together a graphic about all the haunts in Ohio. I'm about 75% done about all the haunts, when they're opening, the days they're open, and their ticket prices. So that'll be released soon. And and Global Scare Network, find the Facebook page. You can just like it and see what we're up to. I don't know what else I'm doing. But yeah, that's the basic. And if you have any questions or suggestions or advice I can give about queue line acting, feel free to find me on Facebook, Maximus Christian Bryant. If you send me a friend request, just shoot me a message just so I know that you're a haunter or something. Because there's a lot of spam accounts out there. But you guys are all awesome, so love to hear from you.
And you get any links for Fright on Fountain also?
There is a Facebook page for Fright on Fountain. Yeah. I forgot my home on. Oh, wow. Yep. But yeah, Fright on Fountain. You can also go to the Scare Factor page. It does have a page open there that you can see, and so just find that on Facebook too.
All right, Max. Well, thanks so much for talking with us here. You've had a ton of great information. We don't want to keep you too awful long here. I know we're creeping up on the hour mark, but yeah, thanks so much for coming on. We'll get you on here another episode, hopefully sometime soon, and hope you guys all have a great haunt season.
Thank you. Talking with you all has been fantastic, and hopefully some of you come out to Dent and say hi to the big orange guy.
The big orange guy.
There.
We will be there for sure. So
if I see anybody throwing rocks at him, I might be the one getting taken out by security. No, I'll just make sure I see who it is.
Just point to who it is and say their head is a pumpkin.
That's what I'll do.
I mean,
there we go.
I don't know if you've seen what he's been doing on TikTok, but the items he's been smashing are going to increase in size. So he's getting some good practice in.
Okay, we'll have to check it out.
All right. Thank you all so much.
All right. Great chatting with you, Max. All right, folks. Well, that's all we got for this week. Make sure you check us out on thescarefactor.com. We'll have all kinds of reviews coming out for you guys this season. We're on all of the socials at The Scare Factor. Don't forget that also includes the YouTube channel. We have got a ton of videos slated to come out for you guys, so be sure to subscribe over there. We also have the Haunt Advisor email newsletter where we will send out notifications usually about once a week here during season, and we'll just kind of recap all the places that we've been, give you links to all the reviews and their overall scores, that sort of thing. So yeah, be sure to follow us on all of those places. Hopefully we will run into you guys at the haunted houses we visit this year. If you do see us running around, say, hey, we heard you on the podcast or wherever you heard us. So we always like visiting and mingling with our readers and our listeners and our viewers and all that sort of thing. So hopefully we'll see you guys out and about. Until then, stay scary.